But we would go through and we would cut out pictures of games we liked, characters, etc., and we would build collages on the name tag. Now, sometimes I generally wasn't this creative. Like, I generally would build the collage and then, I put a white sticker and then write my name on it. But there were some people that would be so creative, they would find letters of their name in the magazine, like with some kind of themed writing, or something, and they would cut out those letters, and then that's how their name would be. I wasn't that creative. It was... No. And yes, I acknowledge that we were tearing up a Game Informer, but again, we got so many at GameStop, and that's eventually why they kind of brought the band hammer on. It's like, look, you're you're destroying these magazines doing this. All right, we are back for episode. I'm not going to get the numbers wrong this time. 31. This week.
Yeah, because we just got over 30.
Yes, I know. I don't know why I wasn't keeping track of numbers correctly after last week, but
we've almost did it. Oh, actually, technically, after this one, we've now done as many episodes as I am old. We've still got about 20 before we get to you.
No, we've got 5, smartass. 5 before we get to my age. But anyway, so we
started off high.
That's right.
Just so everyone knows, we are recording this episode, and it is the end of my night and the beginning of Chase's.
Yes, it is 4:24 right now that we are doing this recording. Even though AM, even though it is technically going to be released on June 2nd, so that's when we will be, We're starting off our month of June with what we have on our story mode today is page 72 for nostalgia. And basically we are talking all things related to magazines and, old retro, game magazines and kind of print media, if you will. Funny thing, I don't know if you picked up on this, Austin, but the reason that I went with the title page 72 for nostalgia.
Yeah, it's 74.
Yeah, 724 is a sequence of numbers that I have seen consistently since I was 12 or 13 years old. And it's a play on words because page 72 for...
it's not as good when you have to explain it like that, Chase.
No, well, I wanted to make sure people understood, But no, if you've ever seen...
But it's funny because you're, looking at me while you do it, so, I already knew.
Valid, yeah. So, but yeah, so it's all things kind of print media related. We're going to talk about our favorites. Of course, Game Informer had its clutches on us working at GameStop, of course, but all those different kinds of things. And then our side quest today... We're going to do, again, a kind of on brand, we're going to do a split screen with a then and now looking at how, print magazines and guides versus kind of the digital age now, the websites, the social media aspect of things, the world of algorithms, so looking at how things were, how they are now. And then we're going to do Disc of the Day, and this time is not necessarily on brand with the story mode per se, but we're doing Disc of the Day looking at various Star Wars games. So not one singular game, but Austin's absolute favorite in reviewing all things Star Wars games. Plus, it's kind of in celebration of Mando and Grogu coming out. You've got your trip coming up. We've got an episode,
I will be in Batuu in just a few weeks.
That's right. Is that the area that Galaxy's Edge is? Oh, okay.
The Black Spire outpost is on the planet of Batuu.
Ah, there we go. See, I've been there. It's great. It's outstanding.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then
Wayne's gonna love this segment, by the way.
Oh, I have no doubt. He'll probably just mute it whenever he's ready. I mean, because he's such a Star Wars fan, right? But yeah, I think that covers it. Did I miss anything for our press start?
No, I think you got about everything. Let's go. We can go ahead and hop into our story mode.
All right, let's go and head into the story mode. Page 72 for nostalgia. All right. So, in general, first off, the whole reason this even became an idea, we talked about, in patch notes with some of the future episodes and things like that. But the whole reason this came up is two things, at least for me. One, I found all of my old Game Informers that I had not gotten rid of, going back to 2014.
And I was going to say, and didn't Scott find a bunch of his too? Which I know we're getting ready to talk about your PlayStation magazine. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, but like if I remember right, Scott sent a picture of a bunch of his in our group chat.
yes,
And
that
then you talked about getting yours, and it spiraled.
exactly. He found, because he never throws anything away. He found a bunch of his, and then I got mine. Not again. I obviously have lost a bunch, but and then yeah. So that's what kind of just sent us down this rabbit hole, and for us. There's obviously a bunch of different magazines. We're going to kind of talk through all of them. Game Informer, EGM, Nintendo Power, PlayStation. There's just a bunch. But
Well, and you don't even have just the. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember going to the doctor's office, and now I can't remember the name of the magazine. But it was the magazines that were in all the doctor's office when you were a kid.
all the different colors and stuff.
Yeah, it was
Highlights.
It was highlights. That was the magazine back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Whatever you because it had like it was perfect when you were going to the doctor's office because it had like crossword puzzles and all that stuff in it that you could do. But they would never give you a pin because they wanted it to be unfinished for everybody.
Exactly.
So,
but no. So I mean, and this is even coming from someone who I've said before. I don't read. I know how to read, obviously, but I don't read. No, don't give me that. We're not talking to Howie, okay? So don't give me that. But I was a big fan of these magazines, and I mean, Game Informer specifically, like they started in 1991, and technically, I didn't realize this when I was looking up some pre-information. I didn't know that Game Informer kind of started with a partnership with a retailer. Like I didn't know that. Yeah,
I didn't know which one, but I remembered it was there. And then whenever it was one of the ones GameStop bought, like I remembered that because I remember the origin of it. And then I remembered it going to GameStop and basically being GameStop's magazine.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So it started in '91 through FuncoLand. And then, we've talked in our episodes, about the life cycle of GameStop, and then, they bought FuncoLand. And so that magazine continued into that with GameStop. And, it actually, shut down in 2024.
Do you remember the video that came out when it was shutting down? It was very...
Man, I remember when I heard about them shutting down, I was just like, holy crap,
Well, and then the revival stuff, whenever they came back, and the guy that originally, like one of the original creators of it and stuff was coming back with it. And I was really, really happy about it.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't long. I mean, the comeback was in 2025, so it was a year, they shuttered their doors. They came back. I think they kept the original editors and stuff.
Have you seen it since it's came back? I haven't actually seen an episode of it, or not episode.
The physical magazines, no. I mean, aside from when I've gone into GameStop, which is not often, but unfortunately, despite how much I love the physicality of them, I mean, I get the digital issues, so I look at the digital issues whenever I get them.
Well, I was going to bring that up too because it was funny so just a side note. So GameStop, one of the things you got, especially, I think you had to be a key holder and above. But they would renew your power-up card every year.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, so you would get... I know you got it as a store manager. I know you got it as an assistant. I don't remember... I thought it was SGAs and above, because I think you get like 4 per store, is what it was.
I don't even remember that when I was there at all. So, that might have been a later thing.
It was a power-up, because when they switched to power-up is what they did it.
Oh, and I left shortly thereafter, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't... Yeah, so... The power-up card, because they gave you all that special power-up card.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I was getting at is, so when you did it, you had to do it a certain way. You had to do it as a digital version of the magazine.
Right, yep.
For the first, 3 years of them doing that, Rob did an extra year on top of it,
to get
so it would send him the physical magazine.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I got the paper mags the whole time I was at GameStop. I didn't flip to the digital until... I mean, I still got them mailed to me because I left GameStop 2011. So
I like the physical stuff.
100%. 100%
more than I like. Well, I'm more... When I have it in an email, I even do it with some stuff I get now, that I go through some stuff, but I glance a lot faster through it in an email versus if I have a physical one in front of me and I can flip through.
Well, and And that's the thing. I mean, obviously, I did a lot of getting mailed because the ones that I found of mine, like I started at GameStop in '05. Yes, I remember looking at those magazines before '05, but I remember getting the issues then. But somehow, some way, my 2005 to 2014 have either gotten thrown away or something, because all I have is 2014 to like 2019. So I obviously got the stuff mailed, so it was fine. But it was, I mean, I would argue even with the other magazines, Game Informer and it being a partnership with GameStop was like the most mainstream of all of them, and maybe there's a little bit of bias on there. But my whole thing about it though was, even though I got it mailed to the house, I mean, you remember we would get boxes upon boxes upon boxes upon boxes of issues.
Dude, I loved getting when I worked there.
New Game Informer Day was an exciting day.
New Game Informer Day, my break that day, I'd always go. I'd go because when I worked at 707, I'd go straight to Wendy's, get my food, come back, and I would flip through a Game Informer.
Oh, dude,
in the back while I ate my lunch.
Yeah,
and I remember back whenever. Now, Game Informer obviously developed and changed as the longer it was out. But I remember I used to flip to the back to the ratings immediately, and I would go when I was young. Like that was like the word. Like you had to go by what they said. If it was a 10, that had to be a good game. Now, it got to a point like I don't know, probably like 2013 to like 2016 that it was not the case. Like a 10 would be a game that everyone else would think this game is terrible. And then the opposite too, like they would rate something that was like a 3 and you would get it and play it and it's like, this game is fantastic. Now there's still some that you would agree with, but for the most part, that's what it became.
Well, and I think everyone, I mean, got to be that way. Not just the magazines, but we see that still, to this day. And I will say, conceptually, the whole thing about ratings, because see, I was kind of the opposite. So when you said you flipped right to the ratings, I would go to the previews. So they had the section before the ratings that was talking about, upcoming or whatever. Then it went into, I would do the previews first, and then I would, go through the whole thing. But
I think I did that when I was younger because like that would be what I would want to rent when we talked about renting games and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, which just a quick tidbit that's kind of a little bit off subject. I actually, if y'all remember back when we talked about Blockbuster, I made that comment about Astro Boy.
Oh yeah,
I found it the other day and sent a picture to Chase.
Yeah, that cracked me up because I know you're unpacking and actually on topic with this though is also while you were unpacking, you found some of your old GameStop name tags. Now you found like your staple name tag, like your prestige store thing and all that. But the thing that I remember too about these Game Informers is we would, now eventually they kind of brought the band hammer down on them, but we would go through and because again we would get boxes upon boxes upon boxes of Game Informers. So
I think I remember getting like 3 or 4 and they were $50 a box, I think is what they were.
Exactly. And
you would go through them and like if you because you got them every month, so if you went through and used all of them, you had a really good month of Power Up.
Yeah, because no one ever came in and bought a single issue. It was, they'd sign up for a Power Up Reward membership. They'd get a copy of that month's magazine. If we had last month's, we'd go ahead and give them that. And then, so, I mean, they would always, like, I can't remember ever selling just a single issue. Like, it was signing up for the subscription.
I remember, like, if you had them left over from the previous month, when you opened that first 50, you would intertwine them to where you could just
do 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. But we would go through the Game Informer and we would cut out, like we would legitimately like cut out pictures and things like that, and we would build.
That was before my time.
Oh, okay. All right. So, well, then you finding your name tags reminded me of this. But we would go through, because at GameStop you just had a name tag that this is before your time, because you've got the fancy magnetic, thing that says Prestige. You just had.
I have the old ones too that I sent you.
Yeah, but
I have the ones with the bunny pins.
Yes. But we would go through and we would cut out pictures of games we liked, characters, etc., and we would build collages on the on the name tag. Now, sometimes I generally wasn't this creative. Like, I generally would build the collage and then, I put a white sticker and then write my name on it. But there were some people that would be so creative, they would find letters of their name in the magazine, like with some kind of themed writing, or something, and they would cut out those letters, and then that's how their name would be. I wasn't that creative, but it was.
No.
And yes, I acknowledge that we were tearing up a Game Informer, but again, we got so many at GameStop, and that's eventually why they kind of brought the band hammer on. It's like, look, you're you're destroying these magazines doing this. It's like, well, but it's a good time. So, but yeah, I mean, they had the preview section. That's what I focus on. Of course, the reviews. Oh, that's what I was going to say about reviews. Ironically enough, a lot of podcasts, when it comes to game related content, they do reviews and things, and they give their feedback with scores and all that jazz. And we obviously haven't done that because I generally enjoy everything. And kind of what you alluded to about how there is always someone that is going to get salty about review scores from people, like, regardless. However, we are going to be having a side quest coming up here soon that is exactly that. It is ratings and reviews, but it is specifically solely based on our, like, there's not this algorithm involved or anything. Yeah. It's just like, hey, based on enjoyment, So don't take any of those seriously, because at least for me, it'll probably be a boatload of 10s because I enjoy the heck out of everything. But the biggest thing obviously was their cover stories. They had the massive spread in Game Informer.
If it was a Game Informer cover, then it had a huge section inside the magazine.
Oh yeah, I mean just dedicated to which I need to get back on the TikTok post that I was doing. I was flipping through each issue, but
I remember. Do you remember? I mean, well, Wayne knows who he is too, obviously, but Cliffy B from Gears.
Oh yeah, Cliff Blazinski.
Yeah, so
he apparently started a podcast.
Well, I was going to say, I remember a Gears magazine where they had the whole thing, and he was the one being interviewed in it the entire time.
Yep,
like he was the big port, because obviously he's like one of the main creators. Like, he is the one. So
yeah, and I can visually, like, that's the thing. There are certain covers that I can visually see in my head, and Gears is one of them. But they also had, like, so yeah, I've been doing.
I think it was Gears 2.
Oh,
the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah. And yeah, I need to get back to doing the consistency on TikTok, because I found all my 2014 up 2019 issues, and I was doing TikToks of just flipping through them. And, I forgot about the good, the bad, the ugly section where, they highlight something that, is exciting, and then something that's kind of meh, and then something that's like, oh my God. I will say one of the issues I flipped through the other day, the good was referring to a unnamed Zelda Wii U title, and it had one screenshot. It was very obviously Breath of the Wild, but it wasn't established at that point what the title was going to be, and obviously it came out on the Switch, but I thought that was funny, and that's the thing. I would really like, I think Howie's got them, so I'm going to try and snag them from him. I really want to go back to issues to like 05. I mean, don't get me wrong, 14, 15, 16, they'll be fun, they'll be nostalgic, but I'm wanting to flip through some of the older issues.
Well, and I will say, like, even though it was a GameStop magazine that I can remember, I don't remember a lot of GameStop in it. They may have an ad or something in it, but it wasn't like, hey, go to the store for this, or go to do this, or go do that. That wasn't what this was.
I do remember early, which would have been well before your time, them putting coupons in the magazines.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they may have ads or something, but like the actual like content.
Oh yeah, no.
It was not like, even though GameStop produced the magazine, it wasn't what it was. It was a true, like, to me, I mean, what you find online now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what's interesting, because the way that it started, with it being a partner with Funko Land, apparently it was essentially just like a store promo guide, that evolved into a full-blown, magazine. And, I mean, they had, and they still have, these very iconic issues. They do the end of the year, thing where they do like top 100 countdown or top 50 countdown.
Well,
Like that was consistent. And they did the April Fool's Day game
Game
and
and Farcer.
farcer. Dude,
Those were good. Those
some
were
of the
funny.
stuff in there were so good.
Well, I remember and I remember we talk about like Game Informer Day and stuff like that, but I remember I used stuff out of that like a lot, like because so if a game came out in November, their issue may be June, like June, July, or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. You use it when you would talk about the game and like draft pre-orders or whatever it might be. Like I learned a lot looking through these magazines when it came to the stuff that it directly incorporates into your job. If
Oh
that
yeah.
makes sense.
No, I mean, because that was the thing. Like the big staples. Obviously, we knew more about them. We were hyped up, but there were games that maybe we weren't gonna play, but we're getting these focuses. And that's the thing. If it was the cover story, like it was very easy to refer to that game to try and get someone to pre-order something. But if you didn't know anything about it, so that's why you'd want to review whatever it was. And I will say
Well, and
the thing also that I remember is like you said, if the game came out in November, their issue would be like in June or something, which is true. That's something that I think people have really gotten away from now, in the sense that we'll hear about a game and then literally it doesn't come out for like 5 years. Game Informer would do their cover story and then literally, I mean, a year later. I mean, I think there were probably some where games got delayed, but for the most part, like we hear about it and then the game would be hitting within the year.
like if it was getting a GameStop cover story or a Game Informer cover story, it had a actual release date at least 90% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, they
80
always.
to 90% of the time. And it was a pretty firm release date. Like I remember, one of the covers I can distinctly remember is Assassin's Creed 3. And all it was the cover was the game. Like it was the game case was what the picture on the cover was. But I distinctly remember that game. I remember the COD issues every year because they always did a COD issue.
Oh, yeah.
Like stuff like that. Like I just remember. And then I remember, like they would cover like some of the stuff, which I think we're going to get into it later, but they would cover like little things about like
Like
they
the
wouldn't go full
industry and
into,
stuff.
like, yeah, about the industry, but they would cover little tidbits of it throughout. Like other magazines covered that a little bit heavier than what Game Informer did, but
Yeah, well, they would, and again, I've been flipping through some of those issues, and I mean, yeah, they would interview developers, they would talk about other niche aspects of the.
I remember the developer things. Like that's what I was talking about, like with Cliffy B and stuff. Like that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
liked hearing in like the process and stuff.
well, and the console, now some of the others really focus on the console wars more, but that stuff as well. They did their fun little quizzes in the back, or other random little things in the very back too. And what I find to be interesting is, again, today's world, the algorithm and everything else. It's insane how many times I see people talking, doing interviews or something like that on a TikTok, or talking about why they got into journalism or why they got into podcasting or whatever, and then they refer to Game Informer as kind of their start, kind of thing, or and not like they started working there and then expanded, just the idea of flipping through Game Informer. And yeah, it was so ease of access for us working at GameStop. But I feel like if you wanted to Google Game Informer covers, like you instantly get a feeling of nostalgia just looking at these covers. Like it's insane. But now I would say, outside of Game Informer, I mean, there's a bunch of other ones, but another kind of huge one, and it's recently on the radar, is EGM. I can't tell what you're showing me. I can tell that it's Darth Vader and then it's Star Wars. Is it an EGM? Oh no, it's a Star Wars magazine.
Magazine.
I didn't
We're talking about
realize.
magazines.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't realize Star Wars had their own magazine.
Well, it's not like a official.
Yeah.
magazine.
Kind of a
But
one-time thing.
It's really cool though, because like it's back to what we were talking about, where we were talking about like the developers and stuff like that it's doing. So like the kid that played Neil in the Skeleton Crew, they have a whole section where they interviewed him and talked to him about Star Wars and how he got into it, and then like how it was playing the character and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I didn't realize Star Wars had one, but though it makes sense. But EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, it was and the reason it's a second one is, again, blame sponsored posts and the algorithm that we live in. So EGM, much more broad. I mean, it's another broad. I mean, Game Informer was broad as well, but broad. Now it started in '89, but it ended in
I don't.
'09.
I remember this, but I don't remember this. Like I was Game Informer, so I didn't.
Well,
like,
and
I would read the Game Informer. I don't remember reading this as much.
Well, and I think that EGM focused a lot on PC, probably more than anything. But the reason why it was super fresh on my mind was that they did a Kickstarter, and I didn't get in on it because EGM was not my nostalgia. But they did a Kickstarter apparently, which got funded and all that. But they're releasing like a compendium of every single issue, and which is really cool. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, the issue and again, I remember not looking at EGM that much, but in my kind of research, kind of through it, one of the things that EGM was super, super known for was being very rumor heavy. So like where we talked about Game Informer releasing stuff and then literally games coming out that year and stuff, EGM was known for being very kind of edgy and early internet stories. So see, it wasn't just game focused all the time, but apparently very much like rumors. Like they would publish stories that were based on rumors, which frankly is kind of how the cycle works now with all of our algorithms and stuff.
Right.
People talk about stuff that's got no evidence behind it or anything like that.
No actual ground.
Yeah, it was just very rumor heavy,
Yeah.
which is exactly probably why I didn't review it that much, just because. But they also had, and they would also like intentionally do like fake rumors and stuff like that as well. Now they had, like Game Informer though, they had a crew of people that would do the reviews, which gave you that different opinions and things. But we got that in Game Informer. On occasion, they would do issues that very specifically looked at one game, and then they had a section for each editor. EGM would do that a lot. But they also had, and I think for me, I mean, I was looking this stuff up online, so I wasn't necessarily, going through a magazine. But they apparently had a whole section that would talk about cheat codes, and unlockables and things like that for the games that we were playing. But again, at that time, I'd go Cheat CC or Game Revolution or GameFAQs online, so I didn't have to necessarily flip through an EGM or any other magazine for that. But I will say they definitely do have some iconic covers though. Like ever since Howie, which we'll talk PlayStation in a minute, gave me that, I've been like researching old covers that would be cool to have. And EGM definitely has, they definitely have some good ones. Now, again, through kind of the research, because it's EGM, they apparently are kind of credited with fueling, in the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube era, like fueling the term console war the most. Like of all the other publishers and stuff out there, EGM is kind of, and it's because they focus so much on rumors that was kind of why. They also, so I mean, I think everyone now associates consoles coming out. The console wars is kind of a staple
Right.
thing. I mean, our second episode was on the console wars. Second episode, and we're on 31. But they would also do a big E3 coverage thing every year.
Dude, I want true E3 to come back so bad.
Dude, I know, and I know
It never will.
No, yeah,
Because that's technically what the Games Fest and everything that we're talking about right now. That's basically E3.
It is.
That's what it is. It's just not E3 anymore.
Well, and what it boils down to, so somebody commented on TikTok, which completely and totally makes sense. The reason why everybody just does their own thing is they realized, oh, we don't need to pay all this money to travel to an in-person event and pay this company and these vendors to be available to show off our stuff. We'll just do it ourselves.
Well, I thought about like maybe trying to go to like Games Fest or something like that, like one year, because I wanted to go to E3, but The thing
No,
is
yeah.
now, like even like if you go to like Games Fest, if I remember right, they don't have all this like so like Xboxes is obviously Xboxes. Now you don't have that, so like they're not prominent as much as Game Fest. Like they may, I don't think they have all their titles.
Yeah,
Is what
well,
I'm saying.
and that's what's going to be weird, So these, when E3 was a thing, EGM and everybody else would cover the whole deal.
Mm.
Now, like we've got like this week. Technically, it's this week. Now we mentioned this already, but it's going to be a couple weeks before we have an episode covering it. But yeah, Sony's doing a state of play, so that's going to be all their kind of stuff. Then Summer Game Fest is kind of a collective. But then Xbox has their own separate showcase, and then they're giving Gears their own specific showcase. But yeah, I mean, because everyone kind of does their own thing, the Summer Game Fest, the one that is kind of a shared, you end up seeing less from those first party because they save those for their event,
Mm.
which is what allows us to
Well,
speculate.
but like that was the thing. Like we've talked about it before. Like you could go to E3 and it was basically just like GameStop conference. Like GameStop conference was like a mini E3.
Yeah, I would say GameStop conference was like a mini E3 for
That's what
sure.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like GameStop conference is like a mini E3. So like now, which I think they obviously I think they brought conference back recently, but uh, I don't. You can't do. There's not really a place like that here in the Publix. Like they have the one that's in Germany every year.
yeah, yeah.
I don't.
Well, there's a boatload in Japan. You got Tokyo Game
Yeah,
Show
yeah, yeah.
and all that.
Japan and stuff like that. But like in the U.S., I don't think they really have one now.
Not one that's like open to the public. And even then, like GameStop was just managers. E3 was primarily press, but they did have where you could get tickets as outside. But I will say in your comment of going to Game Fest or whatever, no, I will at some point go to the Game Awards that happen in December because I've looked. If you buy those tickets, the tickets to the actual show, if you're looking at like this time of year for them, you can get tickets for probably 150 bucks. So the most expensive part is flying out there because everything else is like actually pretty affordable. Not that the Game Awards are a good example because I mean there's not like a show floor for you to go play stuff and all that. I mean, it's an award show, but which I feel I can also remember in Game Informer and probably EGM that
There
would
was
do spreads
when Game
on the
Awards
Game Awards.
when that first started, they did a Game Informer every year because it was part of the. I think it was part of the. They did like their own like game of the year and stuff like that. Like,
Oh yeah,
what they felt like was the game of the year.
well, and the Game Awards started in 2003 on Spike TV, and so it definitely like I do remember like covers of magazines, collaborating with the Game Awards. But back to EGM though, I will say, and again, I didn't review it very much, but I guess they also did the same thing that Game Informer did. Now, EGM probably did it first, but like an April episode that was on like April Fool's Day, and it was full of gags and jokes and stuff like that. So they did that too. But then we've got kind of another one, and this is part of kind of what fueled this episode. But you had PlayStation Magazine. Now, PlayStation Magazine started in '97, so not quite 98, just right before 1998. Well, that very staple year. And then they went. I would have flipped out when I googled this. If they said they would have started in 1998, I was like, oh my gosh! But no, 97. And then ended in 2012. I think. I mean, if I asked you right now, I'm curious if you'll say the same thing. But what do you remember as being like the most iconic thing about PlayStation Magazine?
I don't remember because it came with the demo disc.
The demo discs, yeah, like that was the whole thing. Like, yes, we had the Pizza Hut demo discs and stuff, but with PlayStation, like it was, they would come in plastic bags. Whenever you'd go into bookstore or gas station or wherever where magazines were, they'd be in the plastic bag because they'd have a demo disc in there. And now, what's what's funny is, in general, when it comes to magazines, back then at least, I can't speak to now, but back then, there were, other types of magazines that were generally wrapped in plastic whenever you would buy them. And I can remember coming back from the mall with, PlayStation magazine and stuff like that, and my mom would see them and wonder very curiously what kind of magazine that I had. Which, you may think to yourself, well, you're just a kid. How would you be able to buy that anyway? Well, I always looked older than my age, So, I mean, I was able to buy all kinds of stuff at 13, 14. Not implying I was buying those magazines. I'm just saying that if I wanted to, I very well could have.
You know a lot about them.
Well, I mean, my stepdad had like a massive collection too, so I didn't necessarily have to buy new ones. But anyway, this is not a discussion about those types of magazines. But no, the demo discs. But the thing is literally, and I think I didn't show it off on the pod because we don't do video, but behind me is a PlayStation magazine, and it's the issue, I guess it would be 2008, but it's the Metal Gear Solid 4 issue. And I mean, Howie found it, gave it to me, and I was all fired up. And this is what has sent me down a rabbit hole of looking up old issues. I was this close yesterday to ordering a couple issues from 1998 of PlayStation Magazine and EGM that had Metal Gear Solid covers, just for the sake of having them, because people have these on eBay and they're selling for like $8, So it's like, of course, they charge you an arm and a leg for shipping, which is dumb. But I'm saying though, the demo discs that came with the PlayStation games, like, we need demo discs to come back, like. Just unequivocally, like, we need them to come back. I mean, we've seen it, or at least I have. Like, Dragon Quest did a demo. And
dude, remember? So the thing with Dragon Quest, I told you, I was like, man, I ain't buying that. And then I put like 4 hours or 6 hours or something like that into the demo and was like, I've already got this much time in it. I want to finish the game. And then I ended up buying the game and put 40-something hours into the game.
Well,
I think I have like 46 hours into that game before I beat it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we need demos again, because that's how I was. I wasn't even planning on getting Dragon Quest. Demo came out, played it, loved it, got the game, dropped 40 hours in it. And then I'm in the process of finishing the demo for Adventures of Elliot, the new Square Enix game. Imagine old school Zelda is like merged with like Chrono Trigger kind of thing. It's actually really cool, but I don't know if I'm going to get it because I feel like it might cut into my Rebirth / Assassin's Creed time coming up in the next couple of weeks. But and then I don't know about you, but Final Fantasy 16, which I know came out a year or two ago or 2 years ago.
I remember you told me you weren't buying it, and then I remember you telling me you played the demo, and then once you played the demo, you were like, "This game's actually really fun. I like it."
I didn't even know they were coming out with a new Final Fantasy. Saw a trailer, and I was like, "Dude, this looks like Game of Thrones." Like, oh my gosh.
You were telling me about Pragmata. I needed to do it with Pragmata.
Pragmata was another one, yes. Yeah, they announced at the Game Awards about Pragmata, and then they dropped a demo. And I was already planning on getting Pragmata, but as soon as I played the demo, I was hooked. Like, that showed the innovative gameplay, and that's the thing. I'm not saying we need demo discs, obviously, but we just need demos. Like, I would love if at the State of Play this week or Game Fest later this week, like, if with these reveals came play today, on the demo.
But getting away from PlayStation, like Nintendo having their own
Nintendo power, yeah.
Yeah, and I do remember, I was looking through this, and I didn't think about it until you said it, but I remember because where they had like it wasn't a full walkthrough, but they had like a tidbit of the walkthrough of like the hardest part of the game or something like that.
Yeah, like the water temple from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. Like I remember that. Like I remember it wasn't like, it was like, oh, hey, this is something that people usually get stuck on. This is how you beat it. So I do remember. I remember the Nintendo magazine.
Hey, speaking of Nintendo magazine, did you see what my coffee cup is?
Yes, I saw it.
So
I've seen it.
it's a heat reactive one. So whenever I put coffee in it, something pops up on the Game Boy screen. So
yeah,
fun fact for you. But yeah, so they went from 1988 to 2012. So they ended the same year as PlayStation.
Well, that's 2012 is when digital really started hitting.
Yeah, I mean that was because I left GameStop 2011. They were starting to try and make that pivot, and so yeah. But it was, I mean, it's obviously Nintendo focused, so kind of full of like Nintendo propaganda, if you will. Not saying that they needed to propagate themselves, but yeah, the sneak peek into their strategy guides was really really cool. Also, in looking at old magazines, when I look up old PlayStation, old Game Informer, old EGM, for the most part, you'll see a couple like rare issues or sought after issues, but ultimately, Nintendo Power seems to be like when you look on eBay, dude, they've got issues for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, because they're so collectible. And now I remember buying some Nintendo Power like on the fly, but I guess they had a big thing that they were known for where kids would like mail, like they would beat a game and they would like mail in information to Nintendo Power, like about them finding secrets in the game or their high scores on a game, art, and I do remember Game Informer doing some art stuff too, but
Game Informer definitely did because they had the one issue. I don't know if they always did this, but they had the issue about once a year when I worked there, and it was all fan art.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was fan art generated. Like the entire cover was something hand drawn by a fan of some sort.
Yeah. But then they'd have some of the walkthroughs in there. They'd have the big posters, So like those other magazines we were talking about, in the middle, you'd find a big old poster that you could, expand out and kind of thing, as well, So, and I can't tell you how many people, and I think I was guilty of this too. You would take those posters out and just take thumbtacks and stick them on your wall. Again, talking about Nintendo Power posters on the wall. I didn't have, don't give me that look. I didn't have any of those. Look, any of those posters I kept on the inside of my closet door so that no one was able to see them. I may have had a poster or a calendar or two, but through that they had the fan club newsletters, as well. And there's a whole thing about, statistics and things. I talked about the fact I don't read. I don't enjoy reading. But apparently Nintendo Power is credited to helping a lot of kids learn to read, because I don't know about you, but I don't read, frankly, because of in school, we were told to read the stuff that I didn't want to read. So I just was never, because of that, I wasn't into it. I would totally read Game Informer, Nintendo Power. Like I would read those and enjoy them, and like, again, I read just fine. So, but, and again, the value town of Nintendo Power. Like if you get curious, go to eBay and just look up any old magazines. Nintendo
to be fair,
Power.
though, everything Nintendo holds its value. We've had conversation about this before,
dude. Yeah,
Nintendo itself holds its value very, 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 very well.
They are probably the only gaming company that I mean, the fact that you try and look up any Pokemon game on Switch store, they're all still $60, $70. Like even like I was thinking about getting Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl the other day just to have a linear, modern with experience share Pokemon game. It's still $60. I mean, yeah. So Nintendo retains their values without a doubt. Now, kind of the last magazine to bring up, though, we talked through Game Informer, we talked through EGM, we talked through Nintendo Power, we talked through, you got your Majora's Mask DS, and then talked through PlayStation Magazine. And is that your name tag thing? Oh, yeah, that's that Vita thing.
No, that's your Vita, though.
Yeah, I need to get. What game did you get? Is that your Brilliant Diamond? Shining Pearl? Oh, yeah. You still need to look up that Pokemon. I forgot.
Yeah.
But no, so the other one that I remember very, very well was Beckett magazine. Now, what's funny about Beckett, I actually didn't know what this magazine was called. I was just looking up the covers and then found out it was called Beckett. And then now as an adult, because grading cards is such a huge thing, I'm like, oh, that's the same Beckett that ran this magazine. So Beckett started like in the 80s. I will say I didn't necessarily look up whenever they ended, or they may still be going, but I think they've ended. But they started doing, so this is card game focused, and they did sports cards like in the 80s. But they realized with other trading card games, when Pokemon came out and Yu-Gi-Oh came out and Dragon Ball came out, they pivoted and they would do issues like still with their sports focused for those people. But if you look up, and I know for a fact, if you were to Google Beckett anime issues, you would see magazines that I'm sure you had. Like I'm sure you had. I know Howie's got a bunch of them.
I was gonna say too, like this isn't Beckett. You are correct, because if I remember right, they had some where you could get them, and they would like there was a Dark Magician one, and there was that was one of the first ones where it was the alt art like Dark Magician,
like special promos were in there.
Yeah, and you got it with, or it was that or Dark Magician Girl or something.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
I mean, they had some very iconic like covers, like. Anytime I see someone who is also going through a nostalgic rabbit hole and they post a picture, hey, look what I found. Because I follow a bunch of Dragon Ball groups and stuff. And there's these covers because it was this very like unique 3D art style.
Yeah.
Like you look up any of those issues and in the grand scheme, the art kind of looks weird, you know, because it's like this 3D. But it was so iconic. And that's what I remember most, honestly. Like, I could not tell you if I actually read anything in a Beckett magazine. But, you know, now, when, you know, card games are such they're not niche anymore, you know, because everybody's all about it. But everyone uses these online tools like TCG Player, you know, to look up values of cards and rarity and all that. But Beckett had, like, full guides in there.
Yeah,
like,
I do remember that. Well, and you could get like if I remember right, when a set would come out, like a Pokemon set or any kind of set, they would have a Beckett like book, and it was a little book, and it would have like the picture of the card, the number, and stuff like that. But it was their guide.
And then you could like they would have like checklists and stuff. Yep. And you know, but they also had stuff in there about the animes. Like it wasn't just about their card games. Like they would do some highlights on the anime. And then
you know a magazine you don't have in here?
No, which one?
Shonen Jump.
Well, okay. See, valid. All right, valid. But I will say,
I'm not getting yelled at from Scott. So
no, you're right. And I'm sure this whole time Howie's been like, he just said this is the last one they're going to talk about, and he never brought up Shonen Jump. But see, the thing is, for me,
Shonen Jump was different though, because it was like it was a magazine, but it wasn't really a magazine, because it was a magazine, but it was more like it was like a collection of different animes in a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, but it was still like
manga previews. Right,
it was considered. It was still a magazine, but it wasn't your typical magazine. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, and I think I think that Shonen Jump may or may not still. They may still be going, but they may not be. I'd have to confirm it, But no, and that's the thing. So yeah, me personally, I don't remember going through a lot of the Shonen Jump magazines.
Had a bunch of them.
Yeah. But in Beckett, they did cover some of the anime stuff, and then they were like the PlayStation magazines, where you would find them in bags because they had promo cards or other things like that. But it was one I basically just bought for the covers. Like when I did buy them. But I found it interesting that because I never really knew what the name of the magazine was, and when I looked it up and it was Beckett, and then we know that Beckett is one of the main people that grade stuff. I was like, oh, like my adult brain felt really bad that I didn't make that connection until right then. Like it absolutely blew my mind. But I think that will about do it for our story mode. So let's go ahead and jump into our first side quest that stays on brand, which is Split Screen. So in Split Screen today specifically, we talked through in our story mode about through these different magazines and things like that. But and we all know that there's a difference between then and now. But when it comes to print media, the one thing that we didn't talk about during our story mode that we specifically reserved for this one was about tutorials. And you brought up Nintendo Power did have a little bit, in their magazines, but there were companies, Prima, Brady Games, and there's a couple.
I have one sitting literally right here where I was cleaning out stuff. Because remember, I found the Red Dead one the other day.
Yes.
Because I'm going through Red Dead.
And I found my Red Dead Redemption 2 one. So you've got them both.
Well, the thing is now, Chase was saying, Prima, Brady Games, things like that, they would have somebody that had every in and out of the game, and they would write them, and it was, you would flip through it, and you could find it, and it was like, hey, you should do it in this order, or this order, or this order, and it was like step by step how to go through the game. I remember back in the day, like, this is a story me and Wayne's. I don't remember if we've talked about it on here before or not, but yeah, I think we did. But we would play, so we would literally, they would turn Zelda on. Wayne would play the game, and Dad was reading the guide to Wayne to tell him what to do and where to go.
Which is absolutely necessary because, I mean, even now, for me, and Zelda is such a great example because I'll tell you right now, if I'm replaying Ocarina of Time, look,
I couldn't remember to get the right things on order. I remember back in the day, I had on a whim started playing Ocarina of Time again, and I broke the game how you can do it in the water temple, where you can do it if you do it the wrong way, you can basically literally you can't play the game, you have to restart it.
Yeah, I mean, if I had the strategy guide, I'd be flipping through it. Now, of course, the comparison and the difference is like now, like, yes, is it cool to flip through a guide? Because you're right, they would do their step by step, but they would also have like a whole section on collectibles and a whole section on lore and a whole section on, but now, like, just go to GameFAQs or go to IGN.
Well, it's funny. So talking about Red Dead in particular.
Yeah.
So
the first one, right? Because you're still on
just
the
Red
first
Dead
one.
Redemption. Red Dead Redemption. So just finding this, I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I was looking through it. But before I even did this, I'm really big on, like, I don't want to know the game, but I'm like, I like to look up and just see, okay, so say there's 30 chapters in this game.
Yeah.
Because that's how I pinpoint where I'm at. Because of that. Like, I'm almost finished the second chapter. Like, I only have like 3 missions in the second chapter, and then I'm done with that, and it go to the next one, So I'm about halfway or so through.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing because like clockwork, because I look up now. I've learned my mistake from looking up chapter titles because I have gotten things spoiled in the past. But I do the same thing. Like, I'll look up the chapter like numbers and stuff so that I can kind of get my baseline. And so, but the thing is, convenience, if you want to call it that. Like, if I had a strategy guide to sit right here next to me, no, I'm going to go on my phone. I'm going to look up GameFAQs.
Because
I'm going to go to IGN.
Well, I was going to say, because, like, if you're using a strategy guide, convenience-wise, as much as I did like it, now I'm on this mission and I need this specific part. You type that into Google or YouTube, and it pulls up the video of exactly what you're doing, and
exactly. Well,
it's just.
And that's the thing. Like, prime example, I just got a platinum trophy on 007, and which I'm very excited about because I haven't gotten a platinum, I think, since Astrobot. But literally, that's what I did. Like, I just looked up, trophy guide 007, and then I had it up on my other screen and just kind of scrolled through. But I will say the way 007 worked would be like perfect strategy guide content. Because it lets you go to these very specific areas and very specific chapters and checkpoints, but there is something though that feels good about, like, I found the my Red Dead Redemption 2 guide. I found my Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain guide, Breath of the Wild, and it's cool to flip through, but from a function standpoint, like, it just makes sense to just Google and look up.
Do they even still actually make Prima guides and stuff?
I don't think so. I think some games have come out with them, like, but you just have, like, they're just like custom order. Like, I don't see them in stores at all. But I think that you can order sometimes, but they're definitely not like they used to be. And right. I will say, strategy guide wise, I very much remember the process of guides getting pennied out at GameStop, and you'd have to. Technically tear the front cover off, the back cover off, and throw them away. Was the process, quote unquote, whenever penny out guides happen. But there's just something about looking through those guides, that now doesn't hit the same. The other thing in thinking about then and now, though, outside of the guides, but the magazines that we just talked about, Game Informer and EGM and all of that. I mean, they were written by editors that would post. So their magazines, yes, they did the reviews that we talked about. Yes, they did the previews that we talked about, but they had stories. Like they had the interviews with developers and stuff like that you mentioned. And, all of that. I mean, these are journalists, that were also covering industry standards and those kinds of things. Where, I mean, simultaneously with them, I mean, IGN existed at the same time. GameSpot existed at the same time. But the way that we get our gaming news and our gaming content back then was in those magazines and maybe like G4, which, oh man, G4 was so good. And then maybe a little bit on the internet, but then it of course evolved where we get everything on the internet. But now, I mean, IGN, I mean, whenever I think of like the staple gaming content, you've got IGN, you've got GameSpot. And I know there's a bunch more, but like those are kind of the main ones that come to mind. I mean, back then we had Game Informer, EGM, etc. And we still have Game Informer, obviously, but from a media perspective, like when I see that IGN's covering something or GameSpot's covering something, it's like, oh, okay, let me pay attention. And what kind of blows my mind though is how many like smaller outfits pop up all the time. And we end up seeing that's where the rumor heavy stuff comes in. Like you have to be very careful where you're getting your information now, because the rumor mill can just go like absolutely ham. Like between it, and not with necessarily your credible folks like your IGN and your GameSpots, but I mean, I know when I'm on TikTok and I'm scrolling, the amount of stuff I see that is speculative and not legit is insane.
Yeah. So
and then I did have it jotted down here. So Prima and Brady, the strategy guys. So they started in 90 and 91.
I was thinking about this because I didn't just because they were the two that made them. Is the Prima guides and the Brady strategy guides.
Yeah.
But if I remember, it was whoever, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like, originally, I think it switched straight to, no, because that's still a Brady Games guide. There was only, like, so the games would basically partner with a...
Oh, yeah. There was never two...
That's who printed the guide. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, you didn't have a Prima Red Dead guide and a Brady Red Dead guide. You either had Brady or Prima, and this, like, Red Dead was Brady.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. But no, it just the way that we get our gaming news and our gaming content is so. I mean, the prime example is, I mean, literally,
autistic.
Yeah. This week we have all these game reveals and stuff like that. We're not going to see all of this and then read about it in a magazine. We're going to see all of this, and then we're going to watch TikTok and Reels and all kinds of stuff, recapping.
And stuff that people are putting up, like, hey, look, you may have missed this in it. You may have missed that in it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that boils down to the fact that we're also instant gratification these days, and the real-time news cycle, where back then with magazine and print media, like, it was okay for there to be that delay, but now... frankly, the fact that we're not going to be
Internet changed everything.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, that's something I think is different for us. Everyone's going to be getting slammed with Game Fest and State of Play content for the next 2 weeks. We're not going to talk about it for about another 2 weeks. Let people noodle on it, let it marinate a little bit, before we talk about it. So,
well, and to be fair, also because the last press conference is
Sunday
happens after our. Well, I thought it was Tuesday.
Oh no, Monday.
There was one.
No, there's one on Monday. That's what it is.
That's what it was. So it wouldn't be able to record.
Yeah, because we want to be able to review everything. Yeah, Summer Game Fest goes through Monday. So. But yeah, and then the other thing that I'll say that I didn't say during story mode, but I want to make sure I bring it up now. My favorite thing about the strategy guides or about the magazines or anything like that, I don't know about anybody else, but whenever you'd have go to the bathroom back in the day, and you need something to entertain you. We didn't have our phones to scroll through TikTok or anything like that. You'd grab the shampoo bottle or something and just like read what's on the back of it, or sitting at breakfast, you'd grab the cereal box and read the back of it. But if you planned ahead and had your magazines in the bathroom or anything like that, again, we're talking about the game magazines for, for reading while you were going to the bathroom.
You're the only one that has to reiterate that much.
Well, I'm saying it because there are people who listen to this that know me well enough to know, we know what he means. No, that is not what I mean. So, but it was nice, so you'd have a Game Informer issue or something like that to flip through while, you're taking your friends to the pool, so. But yeah, so that will do it for our first side quest. Let's jump into our last side quest, Disc of the Day. So we mentioned this one is kind of not on brand with what we're talking about, but it is because of some recent releases. So Disc of the Day today, we're talking about Star Wars games, not the Lego games, because we did a whole thing on Lego games. But Mando and Grogu just came out. And,
fantastic.
Oh, so good.
Actually, we won't talk much of it. We don't want to spoil it or anything because it hasn't been out very long.
Yeah.
I've already seen it twice. I really enjoyed it. It's not what... Look, it was just supposed to be fun, and I think that's exactly what it did. So, I was very happy with it.
Well, and
it wasn't supposed to progress a story. It wasn't supposed to, which it did progress the Mando Grogu story a little bit, but it was a fun 2 hours.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned about the whole progressing the story or not progressing the story, because a lot of the games from back then and even now, I mean, you could debate and I feel like you're going to correct me on anything I say about canon, but a lot of the OG games, like the pod racing game, Jedi Power Battles, the OG Battlefront, and even the movie, they didn't progress the story that we know in Star Wars. I mean, either they had you play through a story, like they had the movie tie-ins, like you play through The Phantom Menace, you play through Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah, but it wasn't it was just they were movie games.
Yeah.
They weren't progressions.
But the ones that weren't, they weren't about progressing the narrative or anything, but I guess they expanded the lore a little bit, depending on some of the OG ones.
Mm-hmm. So... the one that I remember the most out of the OG that I probably played the most was pod racing on N64.
Dude, yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was definitely the one I played the most, which I still haven't seen anything on the new pod racing game.
I guarantee you.
Release date outside of that.
I bet that's what we get this week.
I figured we would hear more about that, and I was hoping they would show more of Fate of the Old Republic. But they also remember the Tactics Star Wars game that they were supposed to be coming out with.
You've brought that up before, and I don't remember.
I don't remember the name of it.
Well, and I feel like I Googled it. Star Wars Zero Company is the highly anticipated tactical video game. So it's
when is it coming? Does it have it should have a release date now? I think.
Yeah, it has. It just says it's supposed to hit sometime in 2026.
So that means that you will definitely probably see that this week. Who's doing that? Is it EA?
It's EA, yeah.
So EA will probably have its own spectacle on this weekend for Games Fest because they don't have their own. So they will probably be at Games Fest.
Yeah, so I would think so.
It'll be with EA.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing. Did EA do so as far as did EA do The Force Unleashed? I know they did Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. But did they do The Force Unleashed as well? Or because we know that BioWare did KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic. That's obviously one of the most iconic Star Wars games.
What the?
But the Force Unleashed.
Why can I not? I typed in Force Unleashed publisher. I think it was EA, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, see, if you just look up the case. That would be
for some reason the pictures that are pulling up don't have anything.
Yeah, so it's got the LucasArts branding on it, but LucasArts is under the EA branding.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember the Ultimate Sith? Fun fact.
That's what I have is the Ultimate Sith edition.
So fun facts about those though. I don't know if you remember this. So there really wasn't any different between at any point from the Ultimate Sith edition versus the regular one, but for some reason GameStop sold them differently.
Oh yeah, like different. They were different SKUs
Ultimate
and
Sith
stuff.
Edition, the Ultimate Sith Edition was like $65, and you get the base game for like $10.
Yeah, No, I remember that they didn't always do that because sometimes it was the exact same.
Yeah.
But both those Force Unleashed games are outstanding.
Which-
I mean, I don't know how they aged
Short,
control
very
wise,
short.
but
well, I remember I told you I started playing it. I bought it on the Switch that day, and I was playing it.
and the
You
controls
can
felt a
tell
little
it
wonky.
was an older 360 game.
Yeah, and but I mean, they were great games. You're right. The stories are short, and I think with like Force Unleashed, I think you can beat in like 8 hours or less. Where
They're both about 8 hours.
yeah, where the recent Jedi Survivor or Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, those were
are
each
fantastic
like
games.
15 hours, I think, and technically could be expanded further with
Oh
collectibles.
yeah,
and stuff.
I probably have 15 to 20 hours. Well, even you don't have it on here, but Outlaws. I think Outlaws
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
could
yeah,
beat
yeah.
Outlaws in about 20 hours.
Yeah,
If I wanted to go back and do everything on Outlaws and then play like the DLCs and stuff, I could probably put another 10 to 15 hours into it. Outlaws was okay. Outlaws wasn't bad.
I
The
downloaded
premise
it
of the game,
because it's on
was good.
Game Pass.
yeah,
But
it had a lot of like it was kind of buggy at times.
that's
which
what I
made-
heard.
That's what everybody was turned off about, and that's why people didn't put like I know some people really liked it, but then some people really hated it. The Survivor and Fallen Order are the last two Star Wars games that have released that people are like, dude, these games are fantastic.
Yes,
The visuals are great, the gameplay's fun, the story's good.
and
You're talking about being canon and stuff. They're supposed to be making. Apparently, he's going to be canon.
yeah, that's what I was.
Cal Kestis.
I was going to ask.
or maybe he is. Maybe he's in something.
Well, and
Maybe he was. I think he was in one of the animated shows, or they were going to. They talked about putting him in an animated show or something.
yeah, I mean, those obviously did something for the lore and like an acknowledgement around it. Like, because I don't know with the Force Unleashed if Starkiller has ever been like referenced or
Well, and that's the other difference too. So, like the Force Unleashed, you had his name was Starkiller, right? Like so.
yeah, Sam Witwer did the mocap,
But I'm saying like Cal Kestis had a whole background.
Yes.
Like in Cal, which Starkiller does, like you know, whatever. Where he came from, how Vader got him, stuff like that.
right.
Cal Kestis has like a legit like background story.
Yeah.
And I really like BD1. I even have a Lego BD1 over there. So
I forgot you had
and that's
the
where
Lego
BD1 came from.
That's
and
right.
Now they're running around Disneyland, and they're running. There's I don't know if they're in Disney World yet, but there's like 3 or 4 of them that they have that'll just walk around Disneyland.
And I'm fairly certain EA confirmed that that series is going to be a trilogy, so they're going to do a third
Yeah,
one.
they have because the guy that plays Kestis came out and was talking. That's where I said something about him being canon. I feel like he came out during an interview when they talked about him.
Yeah,
And that's whenever they were like, yeah. And that's when they
Cameron
started saying
Monaghan,
his
I
name.
think he was from
I
the
can't
Shameless
remember
show.
his name.
Yeah.
But I'm not good with names like that. So
Well, and so they've got and then the MMO, of course, was the whole thing too. So I don't want to.
did you ever play it?
Well, remember MMO wise, I've really just done Guild Wars and then like ESO. Like those have been the main ones.
I didn't like sink a ton of time into it because originally it came out, it was on PC only. I didn't play PC when it first came out.
Right.
Now, and I've downloaded it since then.
I have it. Yeah, I have it
but
on
it's
Steam.
so hard to play now because
It's so old.
it still looks really out of date. when
Yeah,
you're playing it now.
it's very aged because I did download it to try it.
But the game is supposed it's supposed to be a lot of fun. It's like we talked about DC Universe a couple episodes ago.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of the same thing, and like how it didn't
just Star Wars.
age the best.
Yeah.
It's just the Star Wars MMO.
Yeah,
So,
but upcoming wise, and I do hope so. The pod racing game that's due out this year, and I don't think there's a firm date on it, but it is like definitely this year.
if they do that, where I know we talked about it with Wayne and everybody, if they actually do that where it's multiplayer and everything, dude, it has so much capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, it does have an official release date already. It's October 6th. So that's already a confirmed date. But they've also got... Now, you said you want to see something of Fate of the Old Republic. Dude, No, I am convinced, and I'm sorry, it's going to burst your bubble, but the reveal of Fate of the Old Republic in the way they did it during the Game Awards, dude, I bet we don't hear about this game for another 2 or 3 years. Like,
I wanted to hear I just want to see something of it, but I don't think it comes out until 2028.
no, yeah, to me, it was way too early to reveal that they were working on a new KOTOR, essentially. But to that point,
Well, the other thing is you don't know how long it's been there.
yeah, well, but to that point, they did a reveal, 5 years ago or more for this Star Wars Eclipse game, which is a Quantic Dream, Quantic Dream, Detroit Become Human, Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain, heavily decision-based game. I haven't heard anything about it. And apparently it is just, there is nothing, I don't even think it's in production. But they still have the licensing to do the game. It's just not even in production yet. So,
well, those are your jam. Like, I know you play those games.
Dude, I love that.
Well, plus, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, they have games like that. They do it and have 5 or 6 endings and stuff. Like, it's just
the replayability. And can you imagine having a Star Wars game like that? Light side, dark side. And catastrophically impact the plot and the story. But the pod racing is a sure thing. It's coming out in October. It's before GTA. It's before COD. So we'll be able to get it, lock in for a little while before our lives go.
It'll
away.
be one that I think hopefully all of us will be able to be in here messing around with. So.
Yeah, I hope, because I think EA is doing it, I believe. But whoever's doing it, I hope they don't try and milk on the microtransaction situation, because I don't think we've heard specifics around that yet. So,
well, that's why I do think we'll get quite a bit. We'll get a good viewing of that.
Oh yeah, I think, because I think they'll talk like different editions and pre-order content and all that stuff. But Star Wars in general, there's so many good games going all the way back to.
I want them to come back. I told you about this. I downloaded Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, and was playing it. Dude, that game was a lot of fun. Like, it still holds up, and that game came out.
Oh yeah, you talking about the recent Battlefront? Yeah.
Yeah, but it came out
it's
like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a hella
2016 or 17.
Yeah, it's a hella install though. Like, every time I've gone back to it,
I've done it
it's
like
3 or 4
80
times. Gig or something crazy.
It's huge.
But Star Wars has got all the old games, the old Pod Race Gun in 64, Power Battles, OG Battlefront, the movie tie-ins, then you got KOTOR, Force Unleashed were great, and then more modern, we've got the Jedi Survivor, Fallen Order. The life cycle of Star Wars games has been a hell of a journey, and we've got some more coming, so.
And you've had games that, like the Star Wars games, which you've had some hits, you've had some not hits. Like I said, Outlaws was very...
Yeah, critics-wise, yeah.
But, I had fun with Outlaws. Whatever. But most of the time, like I said, whenever they have the games that they've put 2 to 3 years into and actually develop the game, they're fantastic.
Yep. That's the thing. They just got to bull down and put the time in, But I will say, hopefully with the next, in the Fallen Order trilogy, I'm hoping we don't hear about that until, the same year it's going to come out. I hope we don't hear about that now, and it's not coming out until holiday next year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for our disc of the day. So let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and go into that finishes our side quest altogether, so we just go into our save point.
All right. Well, we got into all kinds of different things today.
Yeah. It was very magazine focused, but we did kind of stir off a little bit like we always do.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, and what's funny is this is another one that I think we both probably mentally go into. Like, oh, yeah, it's probably a little shorter episode. But no, we've always got plenty to talk about on specific topics. So, of course, so we covered all the things down the nostalgia road on old magazines, and then, then and now with our side quest, and then of course some Star Wars goodness just to celebrate Mando and Grogu coming out. But yeah, so to wrap up today,
which actually, technically, I was going to say part of that we'll be able to go into our next episode too with.
True, kind of, but yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, our next, our next episode, we did our patch notes, I think last week, where we talked about kind of what the next several weeks are going to look like, and that we might be pivoting some episodes just based on availability. But next week for sure is going to be our episode that talks about video game movies. So we're not talking about, we did a whole episode on game tie-ins, but next week is specifically video game movies. So for all intents and purposes, Star Wars isn't going to be super applicable for that because, I mean, Star Wars existed as a movie before. But,
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so that's going to be next week. We do still have the GOAT debate episode on the radar, but also before we get to that GOAT debate episode, we will be doing a recap of, we alluded to it several times on this episode, but we'll do a recap of Summer Game Fest, State of Play, Xbox's Showcase. Like, we'll have an episode specifically kind of around that and how 2026
you will probably see that on a lot of those episodes. Like, a lot of those, like, whenever there's a big event or something like that happening, like we did it with Pokemon, where we had a whole Pokemon show pretty much whenever they had the big Pokemon event for the Nintendo Direct and stuff like that. Just because, like, as much as we want to stay nostalgia and stuff like that, we still are going to talk about stuff coming out.
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
That's just going to happen.
Yeah, so that's going to be that's what we got for the next couple of weeks for sure. But as always, we really appreciate you hanging out with us and tagging along and listening to us yak. Hopefully we, keep you entertained on your drive or while you're working or while you're hiking. These are all examples of people I've talked to that like, oh, I listen when I'm working. I listen when I'm hiking. So, but we really appreciate it. Always remember you can get us on all the socials, Discord. I'm stealing your line now because I remember it each time. Probably helps that we're recording in Discord now.
Yeah, that's the only reason you remember it. It's up on your screen.
Yep, but then also the email, the midnight release pod at gmail.com. You can catch us on there as well. Austin, anything I miss?
No, I think that's it. Thank you all for listening.
Yep, very much appreciate it. And as always, everyone, remember that some memories are worth lining up for.